I'm Malady. Today, I can show you the world. A virtual one, albeit. I have played 3,410 in-game days in this Minecraft world. That's over 900 hours, and exactly 2 years today. Although I technically made it on December 26th of 2023, it was like 1 a.m., so I was still awake from Christmas, so I just say Christmas. In that time, I have built many a thing. First, I'm going to talk about this thing. So this is my spawn. This is 0, right about here. I, of course, spawned here on Christmas, but I would not come back to this area until around day 600, around May of 2024. I then worked on it intermittently from May of 2024 until August of 2025, where this build became my main project. I completed it on November 22nd of this year, around day 3,400. Of course, I intend to build more things in this area, but for the time being, it is complete. Ultimately, there's not too much actual explanation to this build. Or like lore. I've thought about there being lore for this, but I don't think I'll pursue that too specifically. So I'm going to get into who built all of these farms, and every link will be in the description. I actually have an ulterior motive for this video, which is to have an individual resource for the creator of every farm in this world. Any I miss will be in a pinned comment and the description. For a quick rundown of all of the farms in this area, the Iron Farm is by Waddles. I built it in episode 10 in November of 2025 to replace the old Iron Farm I had, which was built by They6. It broke through no fault of the creator. Both of these were just built for the never-ending number of things you need iron for. The Bamboo Farm is by Kmond. I built it in episode 9 because I needed bamboo for scaffolding to drain the lava in the nether, although I'll talk more about that project later. I also used the same fundamental design for the auto sugarcane farm, though I did not follow a specific tutorial for that one. The Flushing Mob Farm is by Mortings. It was built to provide resources for the Wither Skeleton Farm, specifically white dye for bone meal. The Flower Farm was by Shulkercraft, and it's basically for the exact same thing, blue and yellow dye for the perimeter. The Cactus Farm was by Trilums, and you'll never guess what it provided. Yeah, it was green dye for the stupid farm. The Concrete Machine I built so I could actually use the concrete I had dyed for the Wither Skeleton Farm. This one was also by Shulkercraft. The Honey Farm, also by Shulkercraft, was another episode 9 thing, and the Tree Farm, along with the Shulker Farm, which I'll talk about later, supplied me with some of the resources I need to fill the Shulker loader in the Wither Skeleton Farm. It was designed by N. Collier. As for the Big Sugarcane Farm, the Cow Farm, and the Wheat Farm, those were either my original design, or designs that are so old and well known that it's hard to find one designer for them. This spawn is insanely lucky, because right here, right down here, right under my spawn is an ancient city. And that was not, like, this is not a set seed at all. This is a natural, completely naturally generated seed that I just happened to stumble upon. And somehow it is insane. And not only is there an ancient city there, just out this way there is a woodland mansion. And that's actually where I got the only totem that I have used in this world. Yeah, Totem of Undying, one used. I ended up popping it to a drowned in like the first 100 days. Actually, it was in like the first 20 days, I think. Also, when I was recording this live gameplay, I forgot to really talk about the Villager Trading Hall. I built that last episode around August to November of 2025. Albeit much of that real-life time was not spent playing. I initially planned it to hold 256 villagers, although I realized I had not accounted for every librarian enchantment, so I would actually need 272. It has 16 of each type of villager, except toolsmiths, of which there are 48, librarians, of which there are 40, and farmers, of which there are 24. Alright, so that is my spawn completely done. Now it's time for the nether roof. There's not too much to this. You can see the outputs and stuff of some farms. Under here is my old nether highway, which went through tunnels underneath the bedrock. And this is largely decommissioned. I think the only thing that I still have down here is the path to some ice over this way, which I don't use anymore because I don't really need ice for anything. By my estimate, I first ventured onto the nether roof around day 700, around May of 2024. Likely because I was burnt out on my end project, which I was working on at the time, and that's also likely the motivation for me starting the spawn perimeter, just so I could shift my focus away from that build for a little bit while I regained the motivation to work on it. This is something of an unending project. I suspect I will continue occasionally adding different portals to lead different places for as long as I am alive in this world. So as you can see, a lot of my portals have little designs for what they are. This is for the Mesa Monument, that's for the desert, the end, spawn, and that's for something. I don't know. I do have one other concept for a build here, which is building a, like, real, like, interstate highway as a nether highway, which is kind of ridiculous, but I think it'd be fun, and I might do it eventually. So this is my gold farm. I don't want to get down and show you the, like, spawning platform, because it's not that much to it, and it would be a hassle. This is a design by ENX04. I built it in July of this year for the Wither Skeleton farm because I needed powered rails. So here is the overworld portion of it, where pigmen spawn in, and then they eventually wander or get pushed through here. They spawn in on a spawning platform in the nether, below the nether roof, that lures them in with a turtle egg. And it's perfectly distanced from this platform up here so that they spawn optimally. So the next one I'm going to show you is, it's through the end nether portal, but it's not in the end. It's a guardian farm. This is another farm by ENX04. It is ludicrously efficient for how simple it is. And I'm just including it in this segment. It's not really a part of the nether roof, but I'm including it in this segment because I find it to be one of the more significant builds in that I actually come back here all the time whenever I need XP. Or I guess Prismarine, which I've needed more of recently. So, like, of all the farms I have, it's not producing very much now because I just came into the spawn radius. It does take a minute to get going. But of all the farms I have in this world, this might be the most, like, consistently effective one. I don't know if the Wither Skeleton farm is slightly better for XP, but I'm going to keep using this one either way, just because I don't want to fly out to the Wither Skeleton farm. And, yeah, here they come. It's quite loud. It doesn't look like a lot of XP, but keep in mind, I'm at level 140, so I think it gets you from 0 to 30 in, like, less than a minute or something. It's insane. By the way, this farm was built around August or September of 2024 while I was working on the Desert City. I didn't build it for any particular reason other than it being an upgrade over my old Enderman farm, though it did also supply some much-needed Prismarine for the villager trading hall. So I already kind of mentioned it earlier, but this is the Shulker farm by ENX04. You already saw the overworld side. It's a bunch of portals and the Shulker over there. I think there's some problem with this farm that was created by a recent update because it's supposed to last like hundreds of hours before the Shulker dies, and then it should be easy to replace. I've already replaced the Shulker once. It's currently broken, and it lasted like less than 10 hours both times. And it produces pretty decently. I've got a good amount of Shulker shells, but it is kind of infuriating that it's so unstable, and it is still, I believe still the title and thumbnail would imply that it would still work in the current version. The Shulker farm was built last episode in November of 2025. It was sort of ancillary to the Wither Skeleton farm because it has a Shulker loader, and hunting Shulkers to fill that Shulker loader would have taken a very long time. Oh, the Squid farm. I think that's what this one is. I get all of my portals are confused now, even the ones that I do have a system for. So this is a squid farm. It's originally by La Desda, and I followed a tutorial by Shulkercraft. I mean, both are fundamentally the same, but the Shulkercraft tutorial, I believe, is a more compact design. And yeah, it doesn't run 24/7 or anything, but I've still got a good reserve of ink sacs if I ever need a lot of those. I built this, honestly, a really long time ago. Was it episode 8? I think it was episode 8. Because I needed black dye for the dark prismarine in the roofs, which there's only 2 full episodes between this episode and episode 8. But also, it's over a year ago, so like, oh. Well, actually, it's exactly a year ago. Whatever. No, yeah, it's incredibly simple. The squid just fall out onto the magma, and then they get collected by a minecart. And for that squid farm, I will link both the Shulkercraft and La Desda tutorials. So that's about it for the nether roof. There are a few more little things here and there, but that's the main bulk of it. Let's talk about the desert. The timeline is rather complicated for building the desert. In my document for this tour, I wrote day 10 to day 100, day 200 to day 300, and day 1040 to 1350. those would have been December of 2023 to February of 2024, March of 2024, and August to October of 2024. So day 1 to day 100 was essentially the course of episode 1. I initially built this house during episode 1, and I settled there. That episode wasn't really about building anything here, though. I was just kind of settling here. Well, I worked on beating the dragon, beating the wither, all of the basic stuff I wanted to do in that episode. So this house has since been decommissioned, but it's still around. I still like it, honestly. Like, it's not, the roof is kind of fucked, and it's not that interesting in retrospect, but, like, it's a nice build. I like it. I like having it up here. So 200 to 300 is the next day range, and during that time, I just drained out the basin of this lake here. I didn't actually build anything in it, but I began draining it from 200 to 300. And then I had also been working on this little village area here, which is a natural village that I've just built more in addition to and torn down over here. Villagers still live here. I have freed most of them from the shackles of labor. They don't really do anything because I have the villager trading hall at spawn. So that was what I spent sort of the earlier days of this world working on, and then I also spent from day 1040 to 1350 working on this city area, and to be completely honest, not only this build, but the video accompanying it are probably, like, the least proud of anything that I am in this world. Because, like, compared to the Mesa Monument, it felt like I had such little motivation for this and creativity when it came to the designs, especially these sandstone ones, which I find so just, like, boring. And, like, that was conscious, but I still think I should have gone for something at least a little more inspired. These are a little better. I do appreciate this block palette still, but I still think I should have gone, and potentially will in the future revise this build, and go absolutely, like, hog wild on it, and just pour my entire heart and soul into making the best build I can over here. Especially since this is probably the most lore-heavy of the builds that I have in the world. If I ever actually end up elaborating on the lore, as I always plan to. I've always sort of in the back of my mind had a plan for the lore episode, in which I will explain the lore behind every build. Also, here's this path. It's quite long and meandering. Here's the ferryman. He lives in here. So yeah, this is quite a long path. These little lanterns guide you along the river. It's not really a river, it's more of a lake. But then it goes through here, and it goes through the jungle. This was the first thing I did in the city episode. But it is probably the least significant, at least as of now. I actually do quite like this path. Even though, like, there's nothing too much to it, but it's just a nice build to have in the world for right now. This is the site of a build I've planned for a long time, and I will do eventually if I live, but I have not done yet, where I'm going to build a second city. Yeah, not even begun yet, but it will get done eventually. Speaking of plans for builds, at one point, I think it was at the end of episode 9, I announced a plan for a bunch of builds in the future. It was like the next 3 builds I would do, or something. But I actually have already changed my plan for that. And you'll see in the next video, which I've already kind of decided what I'm going to do. You'll see what my plan for the next build is, which I had no idea that I was going to do that until quite recently. So yeah, in summation, not very happy with this build. Probably going to fix it up eventually, but just not right now. There are also these 2 little towers I built at the start of episode 3, I believe. Right before I drained the lake. They're cool. There's a little castle, a little watchtower. There's not too much to them. But yeah, I also do like these. So yeah, that's about it. I believe the only build I have to credit here is this creeper farm, which is by Chapman. It's one of the oldest, if not the single oldest, I believe it is the single oldest farm in this world. that like actually has a tutorial and is like a proper build. But now I'm going to move on to the Mesa Monument. So for this build, I initially took a normal ocean monument, I then dropped nearly 100,000 blocks of sand on it, then replaced the top layer of sand with mesa-colored glass, removed the sand from the monument, drained the inside, took a core sample from the mesa, and replaced the exterior of the monument with that pattern. Then I built a customized ring around the monument with recreations of the desert and mesa biomes. I did more than that, but that's the gist of it. So this was built in April 2024, from day 300 to day 600. It was essentially my first attempt to make a home that would be more than just the little house I built out in the desert. These are my pets, the creator, the boss, and the leaper. There are a few spots I wish I had gone a little more intense on, like this inner ring here is pretty drab. I also did minorly renovate it at the start of last episode, but not too much to be meaningful that I would change the date range. Honestly, I'm still quite happy with how this build came out, even though at this point it's well over a year and a half old. And you'll notice that not all of these builds... I built this just to get a photo. Not all of these were built around when the video came out. Like this... The video for this didn't come out until, I think, like, September. Just because I got really backed up with it at the start, because I just didn't want to... I didn't want to edit when I was working on the... I didn't want to edit, and I didn't want to write when I started working on these videos. And it was especially mind-melting, because the first 3 episodes, I didn't have montages or any live recording. It was just scripted voiceover. And I do definitely prefer the format I have now. I think about how much harder... how much easier it is than what I was doing before, and I'm like, man, I'm so glad that I switched from that. But yeah, this is quite a simple build, but one of my favorites still. It's not really my base anymore. I don't come here for all that much, other than to say hi to my boys over here. Yeah, the boss was actually just a horse I tamed. These two I put here. Actually, no, the Leaper was also just a camel I tamed. The creator is the only one who was created here. Yeah, I've used it. There's still some remnants from a little bit ago when I used it to store all the sand and gravel for last episode, or not last episode, for the episode before, the Nether Perimeter. I've got an enchanting setup and just like basic survival needs. I've got a trash bin. Yeah. I am just about done with this segment already, which is quite short, but I think it's one of my favorite builds, and I definitely wanted to make sure it got showcased. I'm gonna move on to the end. So, surface level, it's pretty much just a normal end island. The only thing you can really see is out this way, I have an Enderman farm. This was more or less free-handed, and nowadays I only really use it for slime balls. Given that it's much less efficient for XP than the Guardian farm is. Yeah, it does still work. It's still fully usable. There's this weird dome jutting out of the bottom, which I intend to fix and blend in with the bottom of the island if and when I do a second step of this project. This is for the one time I loaded into the end and was just falling through into the void for some reason, and I ended up taking like a tick or two of void damage. Not cool. So I built this, and I doubt it would work, but maybe it would. Maybe it'd catch me if I was going to fall and die. Oh, but yeah, the main build here is this stuff. What is this? What is this here? Oh, well, whatever. It's all this. These are caves. They have absolutely no practical purpose. They're just cool. I still quite like these. So I built this from May of 2024 to August of 2024. And I'm honestly, that's a pretty wide date range. It was actually like maybe only 1 month of solid effort that I actually put into it. And there were mainly two week stretches. So yeah, these are 3 main sections of caves. There are the dripstone caves right over there. And then there are these moss caves right here. They're a little overgrown. Let me just, like, yeah. So as you can see, there's not actually any real moss blocks. There's only green concrete powder. Well, actually, there are some moss blocks, but it's only in spots where Enderman can't reach them. At least it's supposed to be. This is probably the most annoying of the builds, or of the parts of this end cave build. So yeah, this is all green concrete powder, anywhere that Enderman can grab. That's because Enderman would grab it if I used moss, and they would quickly erode all of the scenery. See, I intentionally made this cave not... It's not that easy, but I tried to make it as easy as I could to fly through it. There are a lot of ways you can connect to every different area of the caves. I am planning to possibly eventually do a second part of this build, although I have no idea when that would be. And then at the bottom here, I have the Deep Dark. Honestly, not my favorite. I don't think it came out as well as the two higher caves. And also, I didn't realize at the time that I made a burning cross, and that was a hate symbol. But, yeah, so there is a hate symbol in here, so let's just get rid of that. Yeah, now it's good. Now it's okay. Honestly, in a lot of cases, I kind of did get pretty close to the Ancient City build style. But God, shut up, man. You're so loud. You're so annoying. But honestly, I just don't think I went big enough with the canvas, though I think also if I did go bigger with the canvas, it would have just gotten way too big underneath the island. And also, it would be nice if it could be taller, though it can't really be that much taller, because we're already, like... Yeah, that's at wide level 1. Up here, above the lava, there is a bunch of stuff. There is, just a bunch of mine shafts. All of these connect. Some of them go nowhere. Some of them loop around. This is actually fairly accurate to how mine shafts generate in vanilla. Some of them really aren't, but for the most part, this is quite... That's an exposed piece of endstone. I'll take this, because I don't want to go get deep slate. I'll put it there. That looks good. Yeah, it's not perfectly accurate, but it's definitely pretty close. This is funny. I just like when the mine shafts do this. I wanted to include it where they get really broken by structures interacting with them. There's also a geode. At some point, I wanted to build a fossil in here, though. Actually, I can show you exactly where I wanted to build the fossil, because I know where it was. It was right in this hole, but I ran out of End Island. So I kind of just gave up on the whole fossil thing, placing it there. That's just dirt. Yeah, I always will be discovering more dirt. So, yeah, again, not a super detailed explanation. Like, there's no real lore to this. I just thought it'd be cool. But yeah, another build that I'm fairly happy with overall. I also, as you can see, I killed the dragon 20 times, so I could get all 20 portals. Anyway, let's go to the next thing. It's going to be quite a hike to get there. This next build was the biggest I've ever done. I began on day 1,350 and finished on day 2,700. The time range being October 7th, 2024 to August 2nd, 2025. That's just about 10 months of real time. It's a wither skeleton farm. This is a full perimeter. Dug out. It is 256 by 256, or slightly more, I think, wide. I used both some mining and some TNT duping to clear it, but mostly TNT duping. I used a TNT duper by Raiseworks. I also tried to freehand my own, or I actually don't know if I freehanded my own. I think I used a design for it, but it's kind of an old design and circulated around for long enough that no one knows who the original designer was. So I blew it down to bedrock, and then I built walls. I built white, black, and blue, red, yellow, green. And then I built this wither skeleton farm, which is by Stromne. I don't know. It is ludicrously efficient. Like, let me get it running. So, this is quite far from being as efficient as one of these farms can be, and it makes over 1,000 skulls per hour, which is insane. For comparison, your everyday run-of-the-mill, no spawn-proofing wither skeleton farm would make like 100. Even if you did go full spawn proofing, if you did just like the very straightforward Wither Skeleton farm, it'd be maybe a couple hundred at most. This makes up to, I think, some people have probably gotten it well over 2,000, which is ludicrous. It's also fairly good for XP. I don't think it's quite as good as the Guardian farm, but honestly, I'm not sure. It also makes a ton of bones and coal, which was really the main reason why I built it, because I have a plan for a future build, which will need a bunch of coal. So yeah, this design is by Strom. I believe the storage system is designed by Dave Guy. And then the TNT duper I used to clear everything out is by Raiseworks. All will be linked in the description. Yeah, like, I'm not going to farm it too long because I do want to get along with this, but, like, man, it is really good. It uses a constant minecart feed, which can definitely start to get a little, I'm sure it wouldn't be good for performance if you did this with in a place where you already had a bunch of other farms. But, right now, it's fine. And, yeah. You can't use, my least favorite part of this is the armor stand. You can't use fire aspect, and sometimes the game will save and it will break the armor stand. And, yeah, as you could imagine, based on just what you can see of this farm, it's far from the most efficient it could be. Ideally, I think I would have a little bit more spawning space, and also, a lot of the tracks are often just, like, they just come up dead, like, they just don't have enough wither skeletons to spawn, or to pick up. Especially this green one, which is way too long. In retrospect, definitely should have built it in a different way that would prioritize efficient collection a little more on the green ones, and probably built a few more spawning platforms, though I technically still can build more spawning platforms if I really want to. That is definitely the most complicated farm I've ever built, especially when you get down into this, you know, this beating heart here, the storage system. Ow. My god, I'm gonna die. But yeah, I've got quite a lot of shulkers of bones and coal, which I will never use for anything. Oh, I almost ate a golden apple. I mean, I'll probably use the coal for stuff, but not the bones. I don't think there's anything here. No, there's not really anything here. As you can see, some parts of the chest monster still linger. Like, I've just got a bunch of shit over here that I don't know what to do with. I've got, like, I think I still... Oh, no, I collected it. For a while, for, like, several hundred days, I just had, like, 400 ancient debris in a chest that I got from clearing it all out of the perimeter after I had bombed it. Yeah, that was... the chest monster is still alive and as strong as ever. Well, good thing if I need colored concrete, I can go here. So that brings me to the end of the world tour. I do want to talk a little bit about future plans for this world, which, as always, I can't guarantee that, like, there will be a specific time frame on any videos. And who knows, maybe I'll die in 5 minutes. The only ones that I have that I am super keen to share right now are the other end of the city, which I've already talked about building, a storage system, which is going to go underground within this perimeter, and then what I have dubbed clay mines, which is going to be in addition to whenever I redo the city in the desert. I want to build mines for terracotta because the build palette I have in mind for the renovated buildings will use a lot of terracotta, and I want to put some lore around who exactly is mining the terracotta and who can use it. And then I have 2 more build ideas, one of which will be next episode, I'm fairly certain, and the other of which I've had for a long time. It's kind of why I built the Wither Skeleton farm, actually, because I needed a lot of coal for it. You'll see why if I ever build it. It's such a fun idea. I'm quite horrified of the possibility of doing it and just completely botching it. So I'll have to take some brave pills, drink some alcohol before I do that. So that is about it for this world tour. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you whenever the next build is done. Bye.